Ever feel like you need like backup to deal with a really tough problem? Well, that's kind of what this E function does. But for AI, we're diving deep into that today, specifically for large language models or LLMs, which, are behind some really cool AI stuff these days.
Right. It's giving these AI systems a way to access more information, beyond what they initially learned,
Right.
which is really important when you think about how massive and complex real-world information actually is.
So like if an LLM hits a wall, this E function swoops in.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it like an escalation process, but a sophisticated one, designed specifically for AI.
Okay, so not just hitting eject when things get tough. So then what triggers the E to kick in? It's got to be more than the AI just getting a question wrong, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's more nuanced than that. It's when an LLM realizes, okay, I can't confidently answer this using what I already know. That's its cue to bring in the E function.
So it's like the AI is saying, hold on, I need to phone a friend.
Yeah, you got it. And just like you'd hope from a good friend, the E function has options, different ways it can help out.
Okay, so lay it on me. What kind of tricks can this function pull off?
Well, imagine the AI is, let's say, a detective working a case, right? Sometimes they hit a dead end and gotta consult external records or databases for more info.
Makes sense. Can't crack every case with just what's in your notepad?
Exactly. And that's essentially what the E function does with something called an external API call. It's like tapping into a network, pulling in extra information to crack the case or, well, answer the question accurately.
So it's like giving our AI detective access to like a whole team of researchers.
And like any good detective, the E function takes notes. It logs each time it has to use one of these escalation methods. That way, developers can track how the AI is performing and see where it might need a little extra help or training down the line.
So it's constantly learning and getting better based on its experience.
You got it. Now, picture this. The AI has, checked all the usual resources, but it's still stuck. In those cases, the E function can actually be set up to call for human backup.
So even the smartest AI needs a human touch sometimes.
Precisely. And then finally, there's the option for the E function to basically issue a warning message to the user, like, hey, just so you know, I'm not entirely sure about this one yet, which is super important, especially when dealing with, info that might be a bit ambiguous.
So it's like being upfront about its limits, which honestly makes a ton of sense. If I'm going to trust an AI, I'd want it to be upfront about what it doesn't know.
Exactly. Honesty is the best policy, even for AI, right?
Right. But, okay, let's zoom out a bit, look at the bigger picture. How do we actually build AI that can use this E function? Sounds kind of complicated.
Yeah, it's definitely next level stuff. But you know what? Our source material actually lays out this really cool 14-step plan to build a prototype system that uses this E function. And get this, it covers everything. Choosing the right kind of LLM, training it, testing it, the works.
Whoa, they really thought this through, huh?
They absolutely did, which to me says a lot about how important this E function could be, like a standard thing for AI going forward.
That's wild. Okay, but there's this other thing, right? Adapters.
Oh yeah, adapter.
I gotta admit, that one went a bit over my head.
Well, think of it like this. Adapters are like specialist modules you can kind of plug into your AI system, right? And they boost its ability to handle certain things.
Okay, so like giving the AI a specific skill set.
Exactly. And while our source material on the E function doesn't get into the nitty-gritty of adapters, you can see where the two ideas kind of overlap.
Okay, I'm listening.
Remember how we talked about the E function being like a bridge to external stuff? Well, you could almost say that the E function is kind of an adapter itself. It's adapting how the information flows so that the AI gets what it needs to solve stuff.
So it's like already doing some of that adapting in the background.
Exactly. But now think about those specialized adapters. What if they work together with the E function? Imagine this. We design these adapters specifically to study the feedback the E function generates every time it kicks in.
So if the E function logs that it had to use an external API, the adapter could analyze that and be like, okay, this type of query usually needs this specific API.
You got it. It's like having a whole team of detective assistants, right?
Yeah.
Each trained to analyze how the AI uses its get out of jail free cards, so to speak, and then use that to tweak the E function, make it even slicker.
It's like giving the E function its own team of analysts so it's constantly leveling up.
Right. And here's where it gets really wild. Imagine if those adapters didn't just analyze the data, but use it to actually change how the E function works in real time.
Whoa, so they're rewriting the rules on the fly?
In a way, yeah. So, for example, if an adapter notices, hey, this AI keeps struggling with this kind of question, it could automatically adjust the E function so it calls in a human expert sooner rather than waiting for a total meltdown.
So it's not just about having a backup plan, it's about knowing when to use it. That's amazing.
Exactly. It's about this whole dynamic, responsive AI, one that's constantly evolving based on what it's learning. And that brings us to like the heart of it all. Why is this so important?
Well, we talked about AI being, robust and all, but what's that actually mean for me, the average Joe using AI? Well, we talked about AI being robust and all. Well, what's that actually mean for me, the average Joe using AI?
Well, it means we can actually trust the AI to give us the right info, even if we hit it with some really curly questions. It's like, think about those old search engines, right? That'd give you all this random stuff. Half the time it wasn't even related to what you wanted. But with this whole E thing, it's different. It's like having an assistant who actually gets you. They can cut through the noise and give you what you actually need.
So instead of getting lost in a maze of links, it's like having a GPS that's always locked on.
Exactly. And that's only going to get more important, right? Because AI is popping up everywhere, healthcare, finances, even education. We're trusting these systems with some pretty big stuff.
Yeah, it's not just about like winning at a trivia night. It's about knowing that the AI has done its homework, looked at all sides, even called in the experts when it needed to. That's what makes this E function, with all its adapting and learning, so mind-blowing.
For sure. It changes how we think about AI entirely. It's not these isolated things anymore. It's this whole team effort. AI and human intelligence working side by side.
It's like, are we witnessing the birth of a whole new kind of intelligence here?
Yeah.
One that doesn't just crunch numbers, but learns from experience, from messing up even. It's kind of wild when you think about it.
And like anything new, the possibilities are endless. The 14-step plan, that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. It's what comes next that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's like we've been given a backstage pass to the future of AI, and we get to watch it all unfold.
Totally. How will he change as AI gets even more advanced? What kind of crazy adapters will they come up with? These are the questions, right? And the answers are going to shape, well, everything.
Makes you realize how much is still to come. Okay, so for our listeners out there, the AI enthusiast, what's like the one thing they should take away from all this?
I'd say, remember this. The future of AI, it's not set in stone. It's being written right now by researchers, developers, yeah, even just people listening to this right now. It's just one example, but it shows what happens when we push the boundaries, try to make AI more reliable, more transparent, just, better for everyone.
It's a good reminder that even in the world of all this tech stuff, there's always room for good old-fashioned creativity, teamwork, a little bit of human magic. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into this awesome E function. Until next time, keep those minds curious.